After classes, Taehyung received a text from YN, drive me home. Taehyung, just wait at the gate, I'm bringing my car from the parking, he replied. The sun was already sinking when Taehyung pulled his car around the corner near their campus. YN was waiting by the fence, backpack slung over her shoulder, hair messy from the wind. He loved her like this, untidy, real, a little defiant. She climbed in, shutting the door quietly. For a moment, neither of them spoke. His hand brushed her knee. Taehyung, you look tired. YN, I am. He knew she wasn't talking about classes. He didn't say anything else, just drove. They ended up in a deserted parking lot behind an old convenience store. It was the kind of place nobody thought to look, especially not at this hour. YN unbuckled her seatbelt. YN, we shouldn't here. But she didn't stop him when he leaned across the console and kissed her, slow and searching. Her lips parted. She tasted like mint gum and something sweeter. Taehyung, come here, he murmured, voice gone husky. Her breath hitched as he slid his hand up her thigh, pushing the skirt higher. She knew she should stop him, knew this was insane, but she couldn't remember why it mattered. Her head fell back against the seat when his fingers slipped beneath the lace. YN, Taehyung, shh, let me. His mouth found her neck. They were clumsy in the cramped car. Her leg hit the horn once she squeaked. He cursed, then muffled her laughter with his mouth. The windows fogged. Her heart pounded so loud it drowned out every rational thought. When she came undone against his hand, her nails dug crescents into his shoulder. He held her face afterward, kissed her gently. YN, we really shouldn't do this, she whispered, voice shaking. Taehyung, I know. Neither of them moved to fix their clothes. Then his phone buzzed in the cuff holder. He groaned. YN, what? She asked. He flicked the screen, brows furrowing. Taehyung, Mom, text me, she said. Your parents invited us for a movie night, tonight. She blinked, dazed. YN, are you coming? His thumb traced her cheek. Taehyung, surely, but we should probably pull ourselves together, she sighed, tucking her hair behind her ear. YN, this is going to kill me. The curtains were drawn, the coffee table piled high with snacks. YN's parents and Taehyung's had picked a cheesy romantic comedy, the kind where nobody cared about the plot. YN sat on the end of the couch, trying not to look at Taehyung beside her. Their knees brushed, her breath caught. Everyone else was too busy laughing at the movie to notice when his hand slipped under the blanket. YN, don't, she whispered, barely moving her lips. Taehyung, I'm not doing anything. YN, your hand is on my thigh. Taehyung, then move it. But she didn't, slowly, deliberately. His fingers traced higher. She pressed her lips together, squeezing her eyes shut. YN, you're cruel, she mouthed. He smiled against her ear. Taehyung, you love it. When his thumb found the place that made her see stars, she clamped a hand over her mouth to stifle the whimper. Taehyung's parents were bickering about popcorn. YN's father scrolled his phone. Her mother was the only one who's watching the movie. Nobody noticed the way her legs trembled under the blanket when she came undone. Silent and shaking, Taehyung laced their fingers together like nothing had happened. She fled to the bathroom the second the credits rolled. 2 days later, YN hadn't slept properly since that night. She's scared. She knows whatever they're doing is wrong, terribly wrong, but they couldn't stop themselves from doing this. It all began as revenge but spiraled into a risky obsession. Taehyung was walking her to class when Ryan stepped out from behind a vending machine, Tiffany clinging to his arm. Tiffany, oh, look, the incest couple, she drawled. YN stiffened. Taehyung's hand slid protectively around her waist. Ryan sneered. Ryan, you two disgust everyone here, you know that. YN, don't start. Ryan, she whispered, her throat tight, but Taehyung was already squaring his shoulders. Taehyung, funny, because you seemed pretty desperate for her attention a month ago, he said coolly. Ryan's jaw twitched. Taehyung, careful, before you start rumors, make sure you're not the punchline, he added. Tiffany huffed, flipping her hair. Tiffany, whatever, everyone knows she can't get anyone who isn't related. YN flinched. Taehyung's fingers tightened on her hip. Taehyung, say that again, he said softly. Tiffany's mouth opened, but Ryan pulled her away before she could. When they were gone, YN pressed her hands to her face. YN, this is going to ruin us. Taehyung turned her to face him. Taehyung, then let it. If they want to talk, let them. YN was curled up in the living room, textbooks spread in a chaotic sprawl across the couch and coffee table. A pencil rested behind her ear. Though she hadn't written a single word in half an hour, she was flipping aimlessly through a biology chapter when her phone lit up. Taehyung. She felt her chest tighten in that familiar way. She picked up, trying to sound casual. YN. Hey, Taehyung, what are you doing? YN. Nothing, just studying, she lied, tucking her knees under her chin. Taehyung, you, studying? YN. Yeah. Why do you sound so shocked? Taehyung. Because you never study before exam night, ever. She sighed dramatically. YN. Alright, fine. I was bored. Being home alone is depressing, so I thought I'd at least pretend to be productive. There was a pause. Taehyung. You're alone? YN. Yeah. Dad's on a business trip, and mom went to her sister's place. They'll be back tomorrow. Taehyung. So you're staying by yourself all night? YN. Yeah? A longer silence. She frowned, glancing at the screen to see if the call had dropped. YN. Taehyung. Taehyung. Why didn't you tell me this before? Before she could answer, the line went dead. She stared at her phone in confusion. 20 minutes later, the doorbell rang. When she opened the door, she froze. Taehyung stood on the porch, hair disheveled, his blue strands sticking damply to his forehead. He was breathing hard, his chest rising and falling beneath the shirt he'd probably thrown on without thinking. Taehyung. Hey, he panted. She blinked. YRN. Did you run a marathon? Taehyung. You can say that, he said between breaths. I was missing you so much, I couldn't stand it, so I just ran here. Her brows knit together. YN. Where's your car? He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped forward and pinned her with the door. Taehyung. Why are you so addicting? He murmured, his voice low and raw. Her heart somersaulted. YN. You're crazy. Taehyung. Yes, crazy for you. Before she could say another word, his mouth crashed onto hers. He kissed her like a hungry wolf, like he'd been starved for days. Her hands flew to his shoulders, clutching fistfuls of shirt as he deepened the kiss, his tongue brushing hers. Her knees nearly buckled, but he caught her, palms sliding down to grip her hips. In one swift motion, he lifted her off the ground. She gasped, arms flying around his neck as her legs wrapped instinctively around his waist. She could feel how hard he was already through their clothes, and it made heat surge through her stomach. Without breaking the kiss, he turned and carried her down the hallway. She felt the thud of his heartbeat where her chest pressed to his. They barely made it to the bedroom before he kicked the door shut behind them. Hours later, YRN lay sprawled across the tangled sheets, her skin still flushed, hair damp with sweat. The room smelled like them, warm and reckless. She stared up at the ceiling, willing her racing thoughts to slow down. YN. Taehyung. She whispered into the darkness. Taehyung. YRN. Do you ever think about what happens if they find out? He turned onto his side, propping himself up on one elbow. His gaze found hers, shadowed but steady. Taehyung. Every day. YN. And it doesn't scare you? For a moment, he didn't answer. He just looked at her, like he was searching her face for something he couldn't name. Then he leaned down and kissed her. It wasn't rushed or greedy this time. It was slow, careful, the kind of kiss that made her chest ache. When he pulled back, his thumb brushed her cheekbone. Taehyung. Go to sleep. We'll figure it out. He pressed a kiss to her forehead, and despite everything, her fear, the guilt, the knowledge that it couldn't last, she closed her eyes and let herself believe him. Just when YRN thought he'd finally drifted off, Taehyung shifted behind her. He propped himself on an elbow again, fingers brushing lightly over her spine. Taehyung, I almost forgot, he said, voice hushed, but carrying that faint, restless excitement she'd come to recognize. She turned her head on the pillow. YN. What? Taehyung. I got in. His mouth curved in a slow smile, eyes searching hers, her brows knit. YRN. Gotten. They accepted me. His voice was softer now, as though he was still convincing himself it was real. Her heart gave a little stutter. YN. Which university? She asked, even though part of her already knew this meant he would leave. Taehyung. Alvarez University. It's in Arcton Vale. She blinked. She'd heard of it, everyone had. Alvarez was the kind of place people wrote about in newspapers and pinned to vision boards. It was the biggest university in the country, prestigious, impossible to get into, his lifelong dream. Her chest swelled with pride, so fierce it almost hurt. She sat up, the blanket pulling at her waist. "Yn, Taehyung, congratulations." The way she said it, breathless, bright, made his grin widen. She cupped his face in both hands and kissed him. When she pulled back, she was smiling, but it didn't last. Her eyes flicked away, and her smile faded like a blown-out candle. So, you're moving to another town," she whispered. He saw the way her throat worked, the shine gathering in her eyes, his chest squeezed. "Taehyung, hey." He tugged her closer until her cheek rested against his bare shoulder. "Taehyung, don't look like that, I can't help it," she murmured. "Taehyung, I'll come visit you all the time, I swear," he said, looking into her eyes. It's not the same." Her lashes lowered. He tipped her chin up with 2 fingers. "Taehyung, we can talk every day, calls, video chat, whatever you want." But she didn't answer. She just stared up at the ceiling, her lips pressed together like she was afraid if she spoke, she'd cry. His throat tightened. He bent and kissed the side of her neck, lingering there. "Taehyung, hey," he murmured again, softer. When are you going?" she asked, her voice almost too small to hear. "Taehyung, next month." She shut her eyes. A tear slipped out and disappeared into her hair. He felt it. Something in his chest twisted painfully. He wrapped an arm around her waist and pulled her against him, her back to his chest, her body tense in his hold. "Taehyung, you know I'd stay if I could," he whispered. She didn't say anything. He pressed his mouth to her hair. "Taehyung, I don't want to lose this either." She still didn't answer. He exhaled shakily, pressing his forehead to her shoulder. "Taehyung, go to sleep, it's late," he whispered eventually. She turned her face away and closed her eyes, willing her heart to stop hurting. For a while, neither of them moved. Then she felt something cool brush her skin. Her eyes fluttered open. Taehyung was fastening a delicate chain around her neck. When he let it go, a tiny silver pendant settled against her collarbone, shaped like a crescent moon. She lifted her fingers to touch it. Taehyung, happy birthday," he murmured. Her throat closed. "I'm glad you remembered," she said, but her voice was tight, and she heard the hurt lace through every word. He sighed, low and tired. "Taehyung, I always remember," he said quietly, though she still wouldn't turn to look at him. Her silence settled heavy between them, and for a moment, he wished he hadn't told her, yet wished they could have just one more night without the shadow of goodbye. The next day, the house was filled with the warm scent of fresh flowers and vanilla cake. Wyan's parents had insisted on celebrating her birthday, even though she'd protested that she didn't want a big fuss. It ended up being more of a quiet gathering than a real party, just a few close relatives, some neighbors she'd known since she was little, and Taehyung's family. Yn was upstairs getting ready in her room, staring into the mirror as she clipped small pearl earrings into place. Her stomach felt too tight for cake or celebration. Downstairs, Taehyung wandered aimlessly around the living room, pretending to study the framed photos on the walls. Really, he was just trying not to think about how her eyes had looked last night when she turned away from him. After a while, he drifted toward the kitchen, hoping he might find something to snack on. That was when he heard them. His mother Jiwoo and Wyan's mother Suo were standing by the counter. They were speaking in hushed voices, but the kitchen door was cracked just enough for every word to slip through. Jiwoo's voice was soft, almost wistful. "Jiwoo, I still can't believe it's been 18 years." Suo let out a long, tired sigh. "Suo, please, don't bring this up right now. Someone might hear." "Jiwoo, no, I'm sorry. Sometimes I look at her and I forget she's not really Suo. Even though she's not our biological child, me and your brother, we love her more than anything. She's our life, our happiness, you know that." A hush fell over the kitchen. Taehyung felt something in his chest snap taut. Adopted, she isn't really his cousin. For one wild, selfish moment, relief unfurled in his chest, so sudden it made him dizzy. But just as quickly, a cold, sick wave of guilt swallowed it. She doesn't know. She should never know. If he told her, it would shatter her world, and he is too much of a coward to be the one who broke her. Taehyung turned away before they could see him standing there. His hand was shaking as he closed it around the banister. He left the place as quietly as he could and slipped into the hallway. He knew he should go to her room, wish her happy birthday, tell her she looked beautiful. But the thought of meeting her eyes, knowing he carried a secret that could ruin her, was suddenly too much. He left before she came out, before she could see the turmoil written all over his face. When ng3r finally stepped out of her room, fixing her dress nervously, she looked around the hallway for him. Empty. She went downstairs, scanning the living room, then the kitchen, expecting to see his familiar blue hair bent over the cake or teasing her mother about her cooking. Nothing. Her heart gave a dull, uneasy thump. Mom, where did Taehyung go? She asked, trying to keep her voice casual. Sua looked up from arranging plates. Sua, he said he needed some air. Maybe he'll be back soon. Oh, she nodded, but the tightness in her chest didn't ease. She turned away so no one could see her expression. It was her birthday, and he'd just left. And for reasons she couldn't name, it felt like something between them had shifted in a way she couldn't put back. 2 days later, both families gathered around Taehyung's dining table. His mother had cooked everything: steaming dumplings, braised meat, golden fried rice. Taehyung's acceptance letter lay in the center under a glass paperweight. Yun's father Adam walked near him with a smile. Adam, it's incredible. You worked so hard, he said, clapping him on the back. Taehyung looked embarrassed. His mother beamed. Yn forced a smile, but inside her stomach twisted. He is leaving. After dessert, Taehyung tugged her upstairs under the pretense of showing her something in his room. He barely shut the door when she sagged against him. Yn, I don't want you to go, she murmured. His hand slid into her hair. Taehyung, I know. Yn, you'll make new friends and forgot me, she said with a pout. He chuckled and kissed her temple. Taehyung, it won't. She opened her mouth to argue, but he kissed her instead. Deep, bruising. It spiraled fast, the desperation too heavy to fight. Her dress slipped to the floor. His hands were everywhere. When she climbed onto his lap and sank down onto him, her breath left her in a broken moan, and then a soft woof came from the doorway. Yn froze. Taehyung's golden retriever sat there, head tilted, tail thumping the carpet. Yn, oh my God, she gasped, mortified. Taehyung buried his face in her neck, shoulders shaking with laughter. Taehyung, even he knows you're mine. Yn, shut up. She tried to squirm away, but he held her tighter. Taehyung, you think he cares? He's seen worse. She smacked his shoulder. He caught her wrist, kissed her palm, and kept moving inside her until she forgot to care. That week, Yn started feeling worse. She thought it was stress until the nausea wouldn't stop. She skipped breakfast, gagged brushing her teeth. Her period never came. She tried not to think about it. It was late when she finally bought one. She locked the bathroom door. She counted the seconds. When the result appeared, her knees gave out. Positive. She pressed her hand to her mouth, tears spilling over. Her heart thudded so hard it hurt. Yn, what have we done? She whispered into the darkness.